Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the last AdEspresso webinar of the year. So we're going to finish on a high today. We're joined by Gianluca Binelli, who's the founder and managing director of BoosterBox, one of the leading Google Ads agencies. So he's going to be covering today how to boost your keywords by mastering and crucially automating the Google Search Term Report, sometimes referred to as STR. So I'm going to let Gianluca give his own introduction in a second. But before we do that, just a little bit of housekeeping, as we always do. So the question we always get asked is, are we recording? Yes, we are recording. We send out the replay via email within 24 hours of this live session finishing. If for any reason it doesn't arrive, sometimes spam filters and things, it gets blocked. We upload all our recordings to adespresso.com/webinars and also our YouTube channel, AdEspresso. There's loads of content on there. And finally, from me, this is a very interactive session. Myself and my colleague Tori are going to be monitoring chat. So if you've got any technical questions or any questions for Gianluca at the end, we're going to leave some time to discuss any questions that you've got there about this presentation. So go ahead, put them into chat. Also say hi. I can see Piotr is joining us from Poland. If you want to put in chat where you're joining us from today as well, we'd like to know where in the world you're joining us from. And without further ado, because I know we want to get into the main content, I'm going to hand over to Gianluca. Gianluca, how are you today?
Very well, Paul. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us again and taking the time. There we go. I'm going to let you share your screen. There we go. We can see that now. So if you want to give a quick intro and let everybody know where you're joining us from today, and then we can dive into today's topic.
Sure, absolutely. Very happy to be here, everyone. I'm joining from beautiful sunny Tuscany, not really rainy and gloomy, like pretty much, I guess, most of our planet right now, and locked in my office at home. So pretty much like most of you guys out there. So this is the best human interaction I had in a while. So you can imagine how excited I am to be with you guys this evening or morning or wherever you are. So today we're going to discuss about the Google Search Term Report. But before we jump into details, a picture of me so you can see my pretty face wearing silly glasses. I've been working at Google for a few years, always spending money on the Google Ads team. So my job was to buy advertising for Google itself across different media, and I also work for what is now called as Capital G, and I was an advisor there. That's one of the Google owns equity firm, and I've been doing PPC for a while now, and I have a very sad life, so that's pretty much all I do day in and day out. So today I'm here to blab on some mistakes I made in my life and hopefully help you guys avoiding them. Who's BoosterBox? We are, as you do, as everyone really, no, we are the best scientific performance marketing agency, which is a really, mouthful way to say we really are nerdy people that are into numbers and the scientific method. So yeah, we're very excited to dive into the details of the magic word of Google Ads. So today we talk about three very simple points. First, why the STR is still at the core of the optimization and how the recent changes are making our game more difficult. Then we're gonna finally look into a couple of ways where we can automate the STR and enjoy a little bit more of our time, watching cut videos or wherever we are into. So why the STR is at the core of the optimization on Google Ads? Let's look at some, perspective. Like you guys know that bidding is getting more and more automated. We discussed together with Paul, I think was back in Q1 when the world was very different. Why, how bidding works, why you should do manual bidding sometimes and when not, and what bidding solutions there are on the planet. But if you guys have been playing with Google Ads in the last few years, you know that Google is pushing more and more for automated solutions. but also ad testing is becoming more and more automated. We used to do a lot of A/B testing, and the work for us PPC marketers out there in the world in the past has been a lot of focus on testing different ads. Not that we don't do that anymore, but the game really changed. Now our work is much more feeding the beast, the machine learning beast, with different variations, and then having Google to play the game, to match the ads to the right audience and select the winner. So really, that's another driver of optimization that is getting automated by beautiful bots. The last part, and on this part, there's a beautiful presentation from Martin. I'm really bad at pronouncing his family name, but it's one of the smartest people I know in PPC. On Twitter, it's called Blue Marty. Check this out. This is a presentation around why you shouldn't do ad testing. I'm really oversimplifying here, but the main point is ad testing, it's way more automated than it used to be. Google has obviously a vested interest in having the best ad with, where best obviously means highest CTR. So we should trust Google vested interest, really. At least that's the thesis of Martin here. So check him out, fantastic PPC professional. But also SDR is not quite automated yet now, right? Now, we still currently invest a lot of time doing manually the search term report. By the way, I'm gonna say today SDR or SQR. I don't even know which one is the appropriate term nowadays, but it's the same thing. Search term report, search query report, STR, SQR, many names, one very tedious job. We did build a solution for helping with the automation of the SDR, but then obviously, not only Google made a few changes, but it made it very difficult. So our bot found itself in this very uncomfortable position. And the changes were obviously the fact that Google has recently limited the visibility on the search terms that we're seeing in the search term report. Probably you all have seen this news. Depending, that was something that started at the beginning of this quarter, so in September. We have now collected a bunch of data. I don't have yet empirical evidence to suggest a trend there, but I can tell you we're seeing way less data than we used to. We're gonna publish results probably in Q1, but without even results. You guys probably have seen it, right? If you do the search term report yourself now, and you compare with the data that you used to see, there's way less data that you do see. Why Google is doing that? Now, you can adopt the Google is saying, the Google way is saying that there are, obviously enforcing privacy reasons. That's why they want us to see less data. Some other people are saying that that is another step that Google is doing, at manual activity, and is pushing more towards a black box towards automation. Now, today, we're not really here to, complain about this, but to see what we can do about that in terms of optimization. And how we could, anyways, I think it's our responsibility, even in a machine learning driven world, to understand at least the dynamics that are behind that. And, if we don't want to embrace, but at least to accept the dynamics behind automation. So it is what it is. I definitely don't think this is a good news for us as advertisers, because reality really means we're paying for clicks and we don't know what people are typing and they're searching where they're clicking on these ads. Sometimes these clicks are even converting and we have no idea. But it is what it is. So let's accept that for a minute and trying to look into this potential solutions. Obviously, the solution that we are discussing today are not applicable to 100% of the businesses out there. Certain businesses won't have enough data to apply them, but still, I think it's important to understand the logic. All right, so let's start by taking a step back on how keywords works. No worries, I'm not gonna bother you too much about that, but just to give you an idea, obviously, if on X we are, in a small scatter plot like this one, and on X we have the amount of keywords, the counts of keywords, and on why we have the search volume. If we have plus advertise in BMM, how to advertise online, and how to advertise my small business in Exact. Obviously, we expect the first keyword to have a lot of volume, but then low conversion rate, low impression share probably, low quality score. On the other hand, the keyword in Exact is going to have a higher conversion rate, but also higher quality score, but unfortunately lower volume. So that's a fair estimation of how probably head keywords versus long tail keywords works. Let's see why that plays an effect when it comes to automating the search term reports. Probably in a normal world, we will see that the keyword best online advertising has been triggered by the ad group advertise, and we can create and isolate, we can add the specific keyword best online advertising, which is going to be a long tail keyword, in a dedicated ad group or in the same ad group, adding that specific bid. So at least that's the regular optimization that we all used to do. We used to have this word where pretty much the bigger number of keywords in terms of long tail keywords we used to have, the better, right? Because we used to have advertisement website in Exact was triggering the search term advertisement website advertising in Exact was triggering the search term website advertising, etc. So that was the word we used to have before. And we will use probably, obviously, some search terms. So, let's say we will exclude free advertise from the keyword in BMM. So that's the basics, all right? But as you know, in the last few years, keyword research is getting harder and harder. By the way, I should have mentioned in my passions, I really love bots and cats. So I'm gonna use images of both in this. I'm gonna, share many images of robots and cats in this picture, in this presentation. All right, the keywords are getting less and less matchy. You guys have seen it, in 2010, Google intro BMM, and then we had the exact typos, the exact order, the exact meaning. In 2019, the BMM and phrase meaning. But now, pretty much BMM is becoming closer and closer to broad. That is something that was enforced a little bit more than a year ago. And you probably have seen in your accounts that BMM keyword now are triggering broader terms, right? So that is obviously making our life more difficult, because before one keyword was triggering one query, but now life became way more complicated. Now one keyword is triggering multiple queries, but that also means that the same query can be triggered by multiple keywords. So obviously, whenever we are trying to allocate the right query to the right keyword, life is definitely getting tougher. There's a lot of debate if this was the last nail on the coffin of the old SCAD structure. If you want, we can discuss that maybe in the Q&A later. But definitely, I think we can all agree life became more complex because keywords are less matchy. So while this used to be a good plan, now life probably is like that. Advertisement website can trigger multiple search terms, but actually multiple search terms can be triggered by multiple keywords. There is a lot of overlap. So before we even jump into search term reports analysis, what I want to introduce today is this concept of dispersions. So here, for instance, we're looking, this is an old data set. Probably if you run that in your account now, you would see different numbers. But here we're looking at the weighted close variance versus the weighted clean queries, weighted obviously by number of impression in an account. And we see that the number of close variance start increasing from 2012 and is increasing up to 2019. If we zoom in on exact match, we see that the close variance are up to 80% now. This is an account in SCAD, by the way, right? So this really means that while in the past, we used to tell Google, hey, Google, I want to buy exactly this keyword. Now the definition of exactly is quite broad, and Google will buy also other keywords. So we'll disperse, so to say, our intention of buying towards other terms. So obviously that increases the level of noise. How we can at least measure the level of noise, and then we'll see what we can do about that. I want to introduce the concept of dispersion. So stay with me for 2 minutes. This is the boring part for today. All right, so we can define as dispersion index the sum of the impression from queries that are not containing the initial keywords that we want to target, divided by the total impression on that specific keywords. Let me give you an example so things will be clearer. So let's say we have one very simple account where we only have 2 keywords, car in broad match modifier and vehicle in BMM, all right? And we're gonna try to measure the dispersion index of car. That means we want to say how many times Google is targeting things other than car in BMM. So how many times Google is effing things up, to do that in a more direct language, okay? So what we're trying to measure here, we're seeing that we're getting 1,000 impression on the keyword car in BMM, and we're getting 100 impression on the keyword vehicle in BMM, right? Out of this impression, there are 80% of the impressions there are 830 impression from the keyword car in BMM, out of which 800 impressions contain the word car, and 30 impressions don't contain the word car, because the keyword car in BMM is also triggering, for instance, vehicle. So the result is that the dispersion index for the keyword car in BMM would be 30, which means all the instances where the term didn't contain the keyword car itself, divided by the total amount of impression that the keyword car in BMM had. So in this case, the dispersion index is quite low, is only 3.6%. Now, why this is an important metric? Because probably you guys are managing large accounts or small accounts. But I think if there's something in this crazy 2020, we can all agree, when it comes to our time management, we don't have as much time we used to, or we need. So the dispersion index is something that we can use in order to understand what portion of our advertising campaigns deserve the most manual attention, so that we can zoom in and see if we need to prioritize when it comes to search term report optimization. The good news, you guys can go on boosterboxdigital.com/super-secret-scripts. Again, that is boosterboxdigital.com super-secret-scripts. And there you can pretty much, there's a bunch of scripts there. And by the way, today I'm going to mention a few scripts, and all of them are on this link. But the point that we just discussed today, we prepped there a nice guide in order to build yourself. You can make a copy and you can create yourself a very simple dashboard to measure your own dispersion index. And you can slice that by campaign name, ad group, match time, whatever you want. So that you can measure that at account level, campaign level, and really try to figure out if you do have a dispersion index problem. Spoiler alert, you do, but where that is really, right? So, and what can you do about that? All right, so we've seen the basics and we've seen that life is getting harder. At least we can measure this level of noise. Let's see how we can automate it. All right, so the goal of automation, just want to spend 1 minute to say why we invest this much time in the automation. And I think our job is changing, right? We said that multiple times. And really, our added value as agency, as marketers, as PPC professional is moving more and more towards a more strategic input, right? So really understanding why things are happening more than the nitty-gritty details. So I definitely encourage everyone to move in this direction, because that's where the world is going. And as a naturally lazy person, that's why I naturally embrace automation, so that I could spend more time watching cut videos. and let's see how we automate the search term report. So obviously we do need two very simple ingredients, the search term report itself, but also the ad report. And we need to predefine some specific settings. What is the time range that we want to analyze? Probably this will be the classic last 30 days. If we're operating on a target ROAS or target CPA, and we also need to define top down what is the minimum number of clicks or the minimum number of impressions that we want to use in order to take a decision. Now, what I'm telling you now is not scientific, really, because I'm just telling you, come up with a top-down number to define yourself what you deem to be relevant in your industry. But why I'm saying that? Let's say if I'm selling a software as a service and I'm paying 30 cents per click and I'm getting 1,000 clicks, probably that is enough to understand that a specific keyword, a specific search term doesn't work for me, right? But let's say I'm selling very expensive financial tools, right? And I'm paying 15, 20 pounds per click, right? So that is $25 or something like that. And usually, let's say I'm selling something that has a very high conversion rate, something very niche that is very expensive with a high conversion rate. Maybe I cannot afford to have 1,000 clicks in order to make the same decision and call that specific search term or that specific query as not working, right? So that is why you need to define top down what is the minimum number of clicks and the minimum number of impressions that you want in order to make a decision. And obviously, you need to know your target and what action are your conversion. So assuming the settings are something you guys know in your business, we're gonna try to merge together the search term report and the ad report. The magic is really, you can enforce it in a different way. You can enforce it, what I'm showing you now, you can use a script, you can use API, you can use something as simple as automated rules. You can let Google run its magic by itself. What I want to underline is, I think it's really important to understand what is the logic that we want to use, all right? So forget for a second how now we can go and implement it. This could be as simple as using simple automated rules. But we're trying to go after two things when it comes to the search term report. The first things are what we can call budget burners. So things that are burning our money. And the second things are money printers. These are terms that are printing money, that are very valuable for our business. So that is a very simple description. Let's see how we can find each one of those. And then we're gonna try also to ask ourselves how we can find multiple patterns. I'm gonna make the mistake of spelling partners as part-terms many times here, so I'm sure I'm gonna make that mistake several hundred times today. Finding multiple paths, yeah, probably that would be a smarter way to phrase it, using other algorithms such as Engrams, and also we're gonna present a variation to Engrams today. Right, so let's first try to figure out what is burning our money, right? So we are buying some keywords, people are typing whatever they want, Google is making our keyword match less matchy, and we're gonna burn money. So let's see what we can do about that. So the first element to define underperforming queries that are burning our money are CTR killers. So I know this is not super obvious, but definitely encourage you, the first thing to look into are queries where you have a lot of impression, and again, a lot depends on your business, could be 1,000 or could be 10,000, depends on your budget as well, where that specific query has a CTR that is way lower versus the ad group CTR. So you want to pose the CTR killers, or you want to address and exclude the CTR killers, because obviously that is bringing down your quality score, ultimately ending up increasing your cost per click. The second part is taking action on the low performers. These are the situations where your cost per, let's say if you're playing in the CPA game because you are lead gen, because your cost per acquisition is more than NX your target CPA. So if your target CPA is $10 and your CPA is 100 on that keyword, that means, probably that keyword is burning you money. So you want to exclude that specific search term. And the last part are those instances where you didn't have any conversion and you spend at least a certain amount of money. So these are the simplest things that you can do to automatically implement in your accounts with very simple automated rules. If you're using AdWords or if you're using other tools, that's definitely something I encourage you guys to implement out there, at least with automated rules. Let's now try to do the opposite and finding top performers. So top performers are obviously things that are bringing you money. I know, Paul, you're gonna love this picture with that fluffy, amazing cat. Now, whenever you find keywords that are working very well, here you're doing the opposite in the money burner, right? So here you're looking at a situation where the CPA is very low, lower than your target CPA. These are keywords that you want to isolate and you want to dedicate one specific ad group to these keywords. Now, in order to optimize for money printers, you have two options ahead. Option number one, under the assumption that you are operating with ads, or at least some ads that are using dynamic keyword insertion. So DKI, the one with the parentheses and keywords, so to speak. And if you are operating with any non-manual bidding, then you can use a very rough approach and you can simply add that specific keyword in that ad group. The reason why you're doing that will allow you to isolate the performance of that keyword and have an ad that would be more relevant to that specific keyword. So let me take a step back to be sure we're on the same page. What we're doing here, we're looking at the search term report and we're looking at things that are bringing you enough volume of conversion that is below your target CPA or above your target ROAS. Here we're looking at a keyword that is bringing you money, all right? How do you optimize that? How do you get more traffic from this keyword? If you are operating with a DKI ad and non-manual bidding, just stick that keyword in the ad group and you're good to go. If you're not operating with a DKI ad, or if you don't operate with smart bidding by using manual, then then you might want to create a dedicated ad group. How can you do that automatically? And this is why when I used the ingredient earlier, we also connected the search term report with the ad report, because you can do something like that. So let's say these terms are terms that are printing you money, right? The 370 oil catch kit is printing you money. So what you can do here, you can automatically create an ad that is where the keyword is automatic, the ad group is automatically created, where the keyword is generated from the triggering query. The headline as well is generated from the triggering query, and you can simply repeat the query, or you can add something else like buy or discount or whatever. And then the other elements can also be copied from the triggering ad, all right? So you will have an original ad that says high quality parts, hi there, whatever. This is the original ad. You will automatically create a new ad group where the keyword is the specific term, the headline is the specific term, and the rest of the ad is coming from the original footer, right? So that is a very fast way for you to make sure that you're squeezing more value out of every single specific search term that is working well for you, that is bringing you money. This is a complex approach in some cases. So if you're using a simpler structure, let's say if you're using Agakure or more aggregated structure than a non-SCAG, you might want to play with option number one, all right? So far, really, we discussed about the old Google mess, how we can measure that, and then some basic rules, the logic that we can use in order to automate the search term report. But I want to spice things up a little bit more and really trying to tackle the fact that Google is showing us less data. right? And that sucks. So what can we do about that? We need to find patterns. And yay, I pronounced it correctly for the first time, and I didn't say partners. By using an algorithm such as Engram. An Engram is a very simple algorithm that does, I'm going to show you with an example. So let's say in your search term report, these are the terms that are appearing. How to do online advertising, how to advertise online advertising, how to advertise online ad. If we're gonna color each specific instance where each specific term is appearing, and then a unigram is going to be how, that is being used 3 times, two was repeated 3 times, online for, so on and so forth. And a bigram would be the element how to, that was used 3 times, and online advertising that was used 2 times. If you guys have been around for a while like I have, you guys remember the cloud tag that we used to have in probably 2008 and 9. Any blog used to have a cloud tag, something like that. So we're basically measuring the frequency in which each one of these elements is appearing. In a unigram, we're using each element at the smallest detail. In the bigram, we're using 2 elements together. So this is an interesting way to display your data, because you can put on X your Engram count and on Y your CPA. And the data that are usually fragmented, actually, they start to tell you a story. So while you only have few data available, you need to make the best out of it. And the data, one professor of mine used to say, if you torture the data hard enough, they will confess whatever you want. That's definitely not what I'm saying, but because that really means you can manipulate your data to manipulate your truth. But what we really mean here is a light manipulation of your data is needed in order to extract a different story, right? So while all of this doesn't make any sense, something like this maybe makes sense. And we can see that, for instance, every time people are searching for how to, in this specific case, you have a lot of Engram count, so many instances where that happens, and the CPA is very high. But you also have the opposite, where every time people are searching for advertising or advertise, the CPA is much better. And by the way, advertise versus online advertising, I'm doing 2 different stories. Now, this is the normal Engram so far, but I want to introduce a concept that, for a lack of a better word, we're defining smart Engram. I know we work in marketing, we should do much better, but sorry. So the problem is with Engram, for instance, take how to do online advertising versus how to advertise online. It's very difficult really to say these 2 intents are different, right? If somebody's searching for how to do online advertising or how to advertise online, I think these are 2 users that are pretty much at the same level of intent, of readiness to buy our online advertising solution in this case. So using Smart Engram, we are going to split this in 3 units: how, online, and advertise. So we're basically cutting out the stop words, and we're only focusing on the word roots. And that's very powerful, because that allows us to have ideas for creating new broad keywords, but also to block the low intent language. And in a visual representation, if we compare that with the previous graph, we can do even a more, I guess, a stronger simplification of complexity. So we can see that advertise is a new mix between advertise and advertising, and performs here, online is here, and how is there. So that's an algorithm. Again, you will see that in boosterbox.com/super-secret-scripts. You will be able to download that. If you guys want to play with it, that will allow you to measure exactly that. So the input will be your search term report, and the output would be something like this, and then you can plot it and see what insights, what path appears in your search term report. So to sum up, we've seen 3 things today. The STR is at the core of optimization, bidding, ad testing. It's Google is taking over with this machine learning. The STR is more difficult than it used to be. It's getting harder due to the change in image types and the data visibility limitation, but it's still the game. We need to block whatever doesn't work, create new keyword, and make sure we show the right ad to the right person. So same old games we have been playing, just tougher to play now. How can we do that? Find the budget burner with the 3 rules that we have seen. You can implement that with simple automated rules. Find top performers and use the 2 different approaches that we've discussed today. If you're really inclined to play a little bit more, give it a spin and try the script that is shared in the link that I share below, and trying to find patterns with the smart Engram algorithm so that you can see a story that's probably hidden in your data somewhere. That's all I have. If you guys have any question, feel free to shoot an email to me or to my colleagues in the growth team, and I'll be happy to take your question if you have any now.
Hey, Gianluca, thanks for a great webinar. As always, really packed full of strategic advice there. Like, you get so many blog posts which are just really fluffy and don't dive into the details. So I think people really appreciate all the details there. So let me just go and share my screen 1 second. There we go. So I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us, and as a little thank you present, a little early Christmas present, I'd like to give you a free 14-day trial of AdEspresso plus a 30% coupon code exclusive for webinar viewers. So if you're interested in AdEspresso, we handle Facebook and Instagram advertising, as well as being a Google Ads partner, because we've got Google Ads software very useful for split testing there. So just go to adespresso.com/AE-webinar. If you're thinking the content that Gianluca has given today is very good, but you'd like some one-to-one help there, we've got a team of Google Ads experts here at AdEspresso. They work with Google Ads all day long, and we've also got the same on Facebook. Then we got some Facebook geeks that are working with Facebook and Instagram ads. So we offer different services. We offer campaign reviews, which are 10-minute tactical videos, one-to-one power hours, very strategic coaching sessions. We also have a managed ad service as well for both Facebook and Google Ads. More details about that, you can go to the services tab in AdEspresso, because we've designed AdEspresso not just to be a piece of software. We also give you some services as well, because you can only get the most out of the software if you've got that hands-on help there. Then a little heads up about our January webinar. We're looking forward to 2021 now. I think most of us will be looking forward to a brand new year. And as usual, we switch gears and we do a Facebook webinar. This will be presented by myself. We're going to start the year with a very in-depth geeky topic, but something that's very useful. It's about how to master Facebook Business Manager. This is the key to success. I've seen so many businesses get into a mess because they didn't set up their Facebook Business Manager properly. In fact, I've had about 3 or 4 emails in the last 2 days about it. It seems to be a hot topic at the moment. So if you want to set yourself up for success next year, join the webinar, completely free as always, adespresso.com/webinars there. Just a reminder as well, there will be a replay of this webinar. We send that out to everybody by email within 24 hours of the session finishing. If you don't get it by email for whatever reason, just go to adespresso.com/webinars. Also, we've got our YouTube channel where we've got loads of content, including our webinars. So thanks for joining us, and we're going to open it up to questions. I can see some already in there. Just before we get into those, I've just seen where people are joining us from. So we mentioned Poland earlier. We've got Greece, Quebec, a couple of people from Pakistan, Edinburgh in Scotland, Salt Lake City in Utah, and we've even got somebody in Italy. You'll be glad to know there, Gianluca.
Yay!
Oh, in Dublin as well. Brilliant. So let's open it up to questions there. Somebody was asking, David's asking for if you could link to these scripts again. So sure. Maybe just like your website link where people can find everything.
Yeah, exactly. So it's on boosterboxdigital.com/super-secret-scripts.
Excellent, thank you. And Pauline's asking, just to define one of the terms you used, which was T, lowercase t, then CPA. She's asking if that stands for target CPA. And then I think in that equation, it reminds me of something from a maths lesson. I think you also then had ROAS over N. So if you could define that as well, just to kind of
Sure.
define your equation there.
Sure, you're 100% right. Yeah, so TCPA and TROAS, it was shortened for target ROAS and target CPA. What I mean here is the following. If you guys are interested, I actually have a full paper on that. And so nobody actually ever asked me this question, so I'm so excited. So thank you for asking. So the uber simplification of this is N depends on your business, all right? If you're interested, again, in the paper, I can share more, but let's say you have a keyword and your CPA on that keyword was 10, all right? Let's say your target CPA for your business is 3, but you decided that you are willing to accept 3 folds your target CPA as max variation area of whatever CPA you observe to be acceptable or not, meaning 3x your target of 3 equal 9. If the actual CPA that you got from that specific term is 10, you will cut this term out. So N stands for how many folds, how many times your multiplied by your CPA gives the range of acceptability of any target ROAS, sorry, of any actual ROAS, actual CPA. So, you know, the smaller the CPA, the less risk prone your business might be in the specific instance. The larger the N obviously means that your business is willing to take more risk, is willing to spend more money in that specific phase of your campaign.
Excellent. And Pauline's got a follow-up to that because she was the one that just asked that question. But how to know what to target for your CPA there? Like, is there any way of giving any figures or any benchmarks? And I know it's a real wide open question in the Facebook world, but I don't know if you've got any guidelines for new advertisers.
Sorry, so the question is more what my target CPA should be, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
Right. So that's really more, it's obviously a super important question. Let's say, I'm gonna start with ROAS because that's easier. If you take the margin of your business, all right? So let's say if you're selling t-shirts and your operating margin on selling t-shirts is 50%, all right? I'm talking about your accountant going to the accountant and asking, what is my operating margin, right? Whatever number your accountant is telling you, or finance, or whatever organization you have, if you do divide 1 divided by that number, you get your minimum target ROAS. So if you're selling t-shirts, your operating margin is 50%, 50, you do 1 divided by 50%, you get 2. So it means that any company that is bringing you 2 point something is bringing you profit. If your company is bringing 1.9, whatever, less than 2, you're burning money, right? Same things happen with CPA. But the difference is that whenever you're measuring your CPA, it is probably easier to ask yourself, if you're managing a business on a lead generation, for instance, probably, then you need to ask yourself, what is the value of the product that I'm selling, and what is the likelihood that a specific lead or a specific contact or a specific form will result in selling a product. So let's say if you're selling, I don't know, like mortgages, right? And every mortgage is $1,000 for you, and your business is people will fill the form, they will go to sales, and then sales will sell the $1,000 product. How good is sales in converting the leads that you're passing them, right? Let's say they're selling 10% of the leads you're giving them, they're closing the deal. That means $1,000 times 10%, $100. So you have your target CPA. If you're bringing a lead for $99, you're making money. If you're bringing a lead for $101, you're burning money. So that is a uber simplified way to set yourself a target. I think somebody said, without a target, you can't score. Without a goal, you can't score. So I find it a useful sentence in this specific instance.
Thank you. And I think this is something I've had so many conversations with business owners that just don't understand ROAS, but ROAS basically stands for return on ad spend, which is for every dollar that you put into the machine, whether it's Facebook or Google, how many dollars it spits out the other end, which is easy to tell with e-commerce, a little bit harder with lead gen, but you can definitely get that figure. And the basic principle is once you know your profit margins and you can work out what's a tolerable return on ad spend, if you're making profit, then you can keep feeding the machine with more ad dollars because you'll make more money in scale. If you're under that, then you're going to need to regroup or go and reduce your ad spend, or find some other way of getting your profit up there. So really interesting question. This is something that I didn't see covered in the webinars about. Meg's asking about tackling the SQR for other languages. I just wondered if you've got any broader tips on how you handle multiple languages. It's quite common to be, say, like in Europe, targeting several languages. Do you split everything up? Can you run one report? Can you get learnings from one country to the other one there?
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm gonna try to search it on Google. I gave a webinar 500 years ago, I think 2016, that was called "Does Your PPC Speak European?" That was exactly on this point, on how do you manage multilingual campaigns. And there's a slide there, I don't remember the number, obviously, that was illustrating how you do the search term report at scale in different languages. Now, obviously, if you guys want to type that on Google, I think it's on SlideShare. Does your PPC speak European? But to answer to your question, I use the following rule. If we're talking about adding, whenever you're doing the search term optimization, you're looking for the extremes. Something is going very well and something is going very bad. On the things that are going very bad, your game is to find negative keywords, right? Thank you. That's it. Tori, fantastic work. So yeah, on keywords that are performing very poorly, you don't really care what they mean. Let's say if you're selling Pac-Man t-shirts online, back to the example of before, and somebody is searching for a keyword and you're wasting money on this, on a query, and you're wasting money on that query, whatever that query means in Italian, Bulgarian, Spanish, English, and you don't care. So that keyword is bringing you money. So you're gonna post that specific query, all right? Opposite is whenever we're talking about finding whatever something that really, really works. Because you don't want to add a query in your targeted keywords and you don't know the meaning, like it could compromise your brand. Like definitely that's a no-no. A very simple way to do that is to use, there's an automated Google Translate formula in Google Spreadsheet. That's something, if you don't have access to a native speaker, like, probably if you're a smaller agency or organization, you don't. So you just use Google Translate. In the presentation that was mentioned there's a simple scheme that explains exactly what to do and when under each case.
So thank you for those tips there. David said he missed part of the webinar, so rather than us giving a summary here, you will get a replay by email within 24 hours, or go to adespresso.com/webinars, or there's our YouTube channel. Pauline says thank you she said she was running ads blind that targets CPA or ROAS. So yeah, that's the real key to success. For anything to do with e-commerce or lead gen, you need to know your numbers there before you put too much money in there. A very quick one here, Shivangi, I hope I got your name right, was asking for a link to the paper you referred to at the start of the Q&A.
Sure, I don't have it. I think it's somewhere in my inbox. If you email me, gianluca@boostapproachdigital.com, I'll send it over. It's a paper on how to set up the bidding model, but it's really, more details on the different. I'm not going to go into details and bothering everyone, but yeah, email me and I'll share the paper with you.
Thank you. I think Tori's just put your email in chat there. So thank you, Tori. And final question here is a question for myself about how you present this data to clients. So you obviously work as an agency. So do you kind of give them all the information, like all your workings, or do you present a high level report, or do they just leave you to get on with it? What's the best way of working with a client there?
Well, I still have to figure out. I'll tell you what we do, and then you guys can tell me what you think. The way we prep our reporting overall is based on the following principle. It's easier to delete slides than to build them from scratch. So the way our reporting system it's built up is that it's all automated, and using different connectors, different API, blah, 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 we always generate a mega complicated Data Studio dashboard that contains a few dozen, I'm not kidding, tabs with different views, right? And then according to each level of interest, I reckon, of our counterparts, we will go and present 1, 2, or 3, or the full 50. Our clients tends to be very into this game, and we love them for that. So they like to see a lot of details. But sometimes you're talking with the C-level, and she's on the run on a meeting and really doesn't have time to talk about keywords. So maybe she wants to see only the mega insights, right? So for instance, the last super simplified picture that was in the last slide. But really something I learned in time is, it's as important to not only to find to the right data, clean the data, find insight, define the business decision, but also how you present them, right? So a couple of tips. The Avinash blog, if you guys are not, you should subscribe to his newsletter every Friday, I reckon, is sending an email with a lot of focus on data visualization. And the second tip is try to understand, often as an agency, sometimes we forget to ask it out to our client why they need that specific question. Why do they need the specific data? Because obviously that makes your ability to produce an output that is digestible, readable, and useful. Ultimately, it's much more likely to succeed if you know why your current part needs that specific data point.
Thank you. A couple of people have just said, can you mention that blog again? I think they missed what it was called.
Sure. The Avinash, I think it's called Occam Razor, Avinash Kaushik blog on the god of Google Analytics.
Excellent. Thank you. And final question. Melissa was just asking for where you can find more on this subject. I guess your website and also Google do quite a lot of free training, don't they?
Yeah, if you guys are interested specifically on the search term report, I don't know. I don't know on the search term report what I would do, but if the appetite is more on learning on Google Ads, you guys should check out AdEspresso blog. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we blog probably 3 times a week on Facebook and Google, and it's all for free there. And just following up on the reporting, I find with clients, they really like graphical reporting. They like it high level. They like to see trends. So something we do in AdEspresso is we have a PDF report generator. And of course, you can have tables with lots of numbers, but we find the clients like the line graphs, the bar graphs, the pie charts, that sort of thing. So anytime you take it to, either if you're an agency and you've got clients, or whether you work in-house, but you've just got to present it to the wider team, simple to understand graphical content is the way to go there. So I think we'll wrap things up now for the day. So Gianluca, thank you for joining us, and happy holidays. I'm looking forward to more webinars in 2021. And thank you everybody for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.